So you've listened to a whole lot of lovely songs, poetry, etc. Now we are going to, we will be representing, I think, those who in some way support, encourage the people who have spoken, who write, you know, poetry, etc. So we are going to, I'm going to generally, they've sort of, what should I say, what's the word? You've unilaterally instituted me as the moderator or whatever. So I will start by, you know, I haven't come here as a writer. I come here to represent Toto Funds the Arts as a chairperson. And I'll be going to each of them to talk about how they too have been supporting young people who are poets. In my case, in our case, in the case of TFA, the arts in general. So maybe I should start with you, Prabal, because tell me again, what is the name of the organization? You had given me your Yapan Chitra.
Yeah, it's Yapan Chitra. It's basically a magazine which has been published for last 20 years almost, and then it has a publishing house along with it, which is publishing for last almost 15 years, and publish both English as well as Bengali thing.
And perhaps you could sort of tell them about the awards that have been instituted to, can you tell them more? Because yes. I have a feeling that, who among you have heard of this, right? I only heard it from you, Prabal, in the morning, right?
Yeah, right.
So please explain.
Japan Chitra is basically a Bengali magazine, though we had in between, in last 20 years, I think 2 or 3 English issues also. And now we have decided that we will bring out, it's 2 times it comes out in a year. So now we have decided that one issue will be in Bengali and another one will be in English every year. Now we have, I basically write poetry, and it is very difficult, you know, when a poet decides to recognize other poets. I felt that necessity because in India we have so many awards for literature, but hardly, barring I think, you know, this poetry award which has been initiated for last 3 or 4 years by JLF, Jaipur Literary Festival, which is Kanailal Sethaya Award. There are no specific award at the national level for the poetry. So we thought that we should come out with an award for that to recognize the young talents. Young talents means who have been writing for a few years, and we decided we will choose those who can contribute for another at least 15-20 years. So they should have some initial recognition, initial establishments as a poet, known as a poet, and they will further contribute to the poetry. This is one, and similarly we thought that we will have some award for the language, Bengali language also, and also the cover artist. You know, every book we need a cover designer, because without a cover designer no book is complete, but then they are most ignored. We often do not know who has designed the cover. We say at times we appreciate the cover if it is good, but then we don't even look at who has done it. So that is how we thought of giving award. And you know, the next question came is basically what is the procedure? How do we do that? And it has to be a transparent process, because one question came to us: are we qualified enough to give award to another poet? Then we thought, let us remain out of the process or decision-making process, and let there be eminent juries who decide who the award to be given. And we requested eminent people who are poets, and who, I mean, it so happened that most of them, the jury board we selected, most of them were the editors of Indian literature. So that means they had enough knowledge of what is going on in the Indian poetry scenario. So we thought that we should have a transparent process, so we requested them that to give 5 names each. We selected 5 juries and we said the 5 names each who, according to them, are good poets and have written substantially, and then they are at the age group of 50 to 60, something like that. So out of the 25 names we got, then whatever the common names were, we picked up, and again we sent to the jury, say that you select one, and whoever is got the maximum vote, finally he was selected. That is the procedure what we followed. Similarly for Bengali also we followed them. And it's not only giving an award, it's also, to ensure that, they are, those award is presented in a proper way, there is enough media coverage, it's a recognition afterwards. And this recognition should help the person who is getting the award, to write, to get motivated more and to write. It's a responsibility bestowed on them so that they continue to write good poetry. It's a poetry award, so I am taking this word poetry as a thing.
Yeah, lovely. And now we turn to Aparna. And I suppose, given this audience, the Srinivas Rayaprol Prize is not really a very alien term to most of them. But however, for those among you who don't know about it, just tell us the background. And also, like Prabal said, what is your kind of procedure? What is the method?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think, as Prabalda has already said, this whole ambience of writing poetry needed some kind of a recognition. But for us, it came from the other side. The Hyderabad-based Srinivas Rayaprol Literary Trust was established in the year 2000 in the memory of my father, Srinivas Rayaprol, officially Rayaprol Srinivas Martandam, son of a very well-known father of Telugu poetry, Rayaprol Subbarao. So, but Srinivas Rayaprol started writing in English, educated at Nizam College, Banaras Hindu University, and Stanford University. California had a lot to do with his modernism and his own Nehruvian engineer self. So he was a very public engineer and a very private poet. So he was hardly known. Dom Moraes wrote an article once about him in the Hindu, saying that if Rayaprol lived in Madras, Calcutta, Delhi, or Bombay, he would have been one of us, better recognized at that point. But because of Sikandrabad, he was hardly known. So we thought that if we establish a prize that's coming out of Hyderabad, and since I was based in the University of Hyderabad, we approached the Department of English, who happily collaborated with us, and 15 years ago, we established the Srinivas Rayaprol Poetry Prize. In 2000, we established the trust, and then we established the prize. Subsequently, a lot, through the years, I think it was a kind of synergy that happened. Several collections of Indian poetry had Srinivas Rayaprol in them. Yunus D'Souza, Jeet Tile, several of these poets had edited volumes where Rayaprol appeared and his name kept coming up. And then we had, Graziano Cratley, a fascinating person in Yale University who was researching a lot. And there was a correspondence between Rayaprol and William Carlos Williams, the American poet. And that kind of was published by the University of New Mexico Press. I'm bringing back this background because I think the poets who are writing also come from several different backgrounds. And we instituted the prize for young poets between the ages of 20 and 40. I just got an email even yesterday saying why this age restriction. There's an emotional answer to it. We want to encourage young poets, not so well published poets, but it's also because Rayaprol's best work were in his own 20s and 30s. So we want to think of poets who were not known and who were trying to discover and talk about these big changes in their own lives, like independent India, building dams, writing about cities. So all this was also going on. So once we established the trust, we had the support of the best known Indian English poets. Everyone, the last one that we have very interestingly both the jury member and the winner in our audience of the 14th Srinivas Rayaprol Prize. We have Mani Rao from Bengaluru and Shyam Sudhakar, who can now also be called someone from Bengaluru, of course, originally from Kerala. Both of the jury and the winner are here. But before that, we had the support of K.K. Daruwala, Arvind Krishna Mehrotra. Mehrotra also wrote a very influential article in the Caravan, and he also wrote in an introduction. So, this kind of thing happened, and every poet had a personal connect to Srinivas Rayaprol, whether they were in the jury or the poets themselves. So we also have had Jeet Tail, Sudeep Sen, Manohar Shetty, you name them, and they were all there for jury. Srilata, K. Srilata, Meena Alexander also came to give away the prize. Hoshang Merchant has been very supportive. So all the poets were there. Now the young people who actually we discovered, the first one, Aditi Machado, is somebody you know very well as well, also won your award. Aditi was from Bengaluru. Purna Swami, Bengaluru. Then we had Arundhati Subramaniam, who's the jury, who once said, that was the year that Aishwarya Iyer got it. Are you getting poets only from Bengaluru, Aparna? I said, no, we have them from the other places. But I think Bangalore has the synergy for poetry as well. But we have, of course, Hemant Mahapatra, like Srinivas Rayaprol, engineer by day and poet by night. So we had a very good mix of people from the north and the south. And we also have poets who have been writing very, very eclectic. The genre has been quite open. And what is the jury process? The jury process changed in the last 15 years. We started off with a 3-member jury, 2 from the Department of English, faculty members, and 1 external jury member, names that I have mentioned. But over the years, we found that the entries were very high. The first couple of years, there were 300 plus entries. And later, I think as the prize was established, we came up to about 150. And because of lack of time and other things and other pragmatic constraints, the faculty members began to shortlist. And we now give about 25 to 30 entries to the poet jury that the trust picks. So Mani and some of the others who've done it more recently, Mamangdai, they got to choose from the fewer. We asked for 3 poets because it's poems because it's a body of work rather than 1 poem. So we have been doing that as well, and we've come into a situation where the entries are very, very, it's a blind process. We completely remove the names, we number them and send them to the Department of English. They give the numbers again, and then now we've moved only to soft copies. We started with hard copies, and now we realize that everyone is comfortable with that. So we moved to that, and then we announce it now. We've just announced the 15th Srinivas Rayaprol Poetry Prize, and the deadline is September 3rd. It's usually the first Sunday in September, and we announce it by Srinivas Rayaprol's birth anniversary, which is, we try to have the prize on that day, which is October 25th. If we can't do it, we collaborate with the Hyderabad Literary Festival and have it there. And those have been very good as well. Prashant Parvataneni, who got it, also from Bengaluru, was presented the award by Graziano Cratli, who came that year, and G. Patel said he's not able to travel. He was the jury that year. So we've had a very different kind of experience. It has been gratifying that we are able to institutionalize the memory of a poet who was lesser known, and it's also wonderful to see, interact with the amazing talent that we have around us today. Yeah.
Thank you, Aparna. So, yes. Coming to TFA, let me first tell you that, yes, we too, our call for entries also is very much on. If you go to, let me do a little bit of promotion now, totofundsthearts.blogspot.com or totofundsthearts.org, which is our new website. Now, we're entering our 20th year, right? And so many of the names, that Aparna mentioned, again, sounding familiar, because Giv Patel, Keki, so many others, Arundhati Subramaniam, they have done workshops for people here. They have been on the jury. Jerry, who is not here, I'm sure, he's vanished, he's escaped, was a juror once. So our process basically is that a jury keeps changing every year. So Prabal was talking about transparency, and so was she. So the same kind of process, I guess, because we want to be completely open, that we have nothing to do with it. We meaning those on the board of trustees. So I happen to be chairperson, and there are other trustees with me. So again, anonymity. So when we also do a culling process, because the number of entries has been increasing over the years, So it started out slow, and then slowly, as people got to know of TFA, during the pandemic time, more than 200, didn't know what to do. So obviously, there would be another sub-panel, because the poor jurors, they cannot go through all, 200, right? Same thing, right? So, and then, the jury members, 3 of them each year, we keep changing, would go through it and then, give us the short list of 4. Imagine, from so many, you have to keep, bringing it down. And I'm so happy that at this poetry festival, there have been so many who have been long-listed for Toto, short-listed for Toto, winning Toto. They're all here, including Sohini, who you heard just a while back. She was a 2017 winner. And tomorrow, you will hear other people, a bunch of young poets who have been either long-listed or won the previous year. So the point is that, as I was just telling Prabal, we, of course, are not only giving awards for writing. So we started out with music, because if you go to our website or the blog, you will know the history that TFA was formed after the death of a young man called Toto Angiras Velani, and his mother and friends formed this trust, non-profit public trust. The very year he died in 2004, and the first award was immediately instituted in 2005, saying, Toto loved music, he loved literature, he loved film. Let us encourage young people. He was just 20. So let's encourage young people. So whereas obviously your upper limit is 40, we kind of, our limit, the age limit here, is between 18 and 29. So which means you're 30-year-old gone. Now the point is that we are not, we are encouraging those who have potential, right? So it's like a stepping stone. So you often have the same names, somebody has won the Toto, then they rush to the Rayaprol prize and then get that, So it's like a little stepping stone. For other things, so there have been people who have, we started out, like I said, with music. The very next year, it was writing. And then came short film, then, creative writing in Kannada, because we started with English. We had Kannada, photography, and most recently, this digital art. So, we sort of, slowly, we sort of started increasing. And you might wonder, how is it that we give away these prizes, right? I mean, I think the youngsters will probably have an eye on the prize as well. So in our case, it's basically well-wishers, friends who've contributed. So it's in small, kind of contributions that we keep gathering. And since it's a non-profit public trust, whatever, for example, people conduct workshops, and then that money is again pumped back into it, so that it sort of goes to support the awards. We are so happy then that we were giving away, for writing, we were giving away 2 awards, right? Now, what would happen was that the number of poetry entries was really increasing, And for jurors, poor things, they've had to look at short fiction, plays, and poetry. And then how do you sort of give the awards, right? How do you balance poetry with, and say this person should be shortlisted, this person should win? 2 winners. 4 shortlists, 2 winners, right? So from 2021, we are so happy that the Mani Rao Foundation said, here is a prize, especially for the poets. We said, yes, great, So one of those awards is for poetry. Although we don't mention it that way and say, So we tell the jurors, please choose, one award for poetry, and the other, we're not saying, no, it should be in fiction or this thing. If you feel that another poet deserves it, please, that way. We leave that open, and only the Mani Rao one from 2021, we've started, giving it 2 poets, especially. Right. So now, perhaps maybe, what do we throw it open to the audience, or are there questions, more questions, or something else you want to add?
I think we can take some questions on this. Before any question, I would like to ask you two one question. I mean, the question applies for me as well. Why do you feel that it is important to give award to the young talents? I mean, why you feel that it is your responsibility to do so? What is the thought behind that?
You can go ahead. Actually, like I said, it is not to our Toto award is really not to recognize achievement. It's not like, that is why we've deliberately kept the age limit to, sort of 29. So it's to recognize potential and say, yes, we have your back. Now you have to continue. The point is that it's most gratifying when we find that those even on the long list, there's no joke, to get into a long list of like 15, 20 among this thing, it's really hard. So even when we find that they are going on to do things, like Aditi Machado, today you see her, right? Aditi Rao was there, right at the early this thing,
Yeah.
You sort of Google them and then you see where they've gone places, But so we feel that there's some kind of a contribution to giving them that initial start,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So, and also the common names, Aparna, Tushar Jain, Mihir Vatsa, they kind of won here, so many of these names are in common.
Yeah,
So I think we generally have the same people in mind, right? Young
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with everything that Meena said. And I'd just like to add one more thing, and that is, poetry is something which is very hard to write, and it is also difficult for young poets to come to terms with the fact that they, whether they're going to be recognized or not, whether it's actually something that is interesting for others. So the emails that come sometimes with the poems, they say, even if I'm not good enough for the award, please comment on the quality of my writing. And that we can't do, unfortunately. But it's nice to see the excitement and as you said, it's really gratifying to see them go places and do so well and have all these publications that are coming out. And I keep telling them, as we continue the prize, you will come back as jury at some point, because you would have made such a name for yourself.
Actually, that happened with Aditi, who was wonderful. She was just 20, right?
Yeah,
And
she
she won the
was
Rayaprol,
my
and then,
youngest.
yes, the TFA.
20.
And then finally, we got her quite recently as a juror. It was such a delight, because she is now teaching in university abroad, etc., etc. So she's now become a judge. And then we dug up, I remember digging up an old photograph, she's looking so young, when she was getting the prize, actually, years ago.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
this is what really makes it worthwhile, right?
Absolutely.
And Kinshuk also, by the way, who we just heard, yes, he too was on the long list, yes, yes.
Yeah, in our case, I mean, it started more from a social responsibilities sort of thing. Actually, what we found that there are some, I mean, the young writers, I mean, who wants to publish their work in the book form, they don't know where to go. And there are some dishonest publishers who actually, I mean, take a lot of money and they don't fulfill whatever they promise, and they actually cheat them. So we thought that we should create a platform as our responsibility so that the young writers who are writing well, they can get their books published. So we, last, I think 14 years we have been doing that. Every year we are publishing 5 to 7 poets. We invite their manuscripts, and whatever manuscripts come, we, no, it's only in Bengali. Whatever manuscript comes, we have a board of jury who decides on the manuscript, and finally from there 5 to 7, minimum 5 or maximum 7, we started publishing those books. Now what has happened after doing that for about 8-10 years, we found that the scenario is slowly changing. There are other small publishers, not big publishers, but small publishers is coming up, and they have also started publishing the young poets' books. And this is how we felt that this is a contribution we have been making as a social responsibility, and then we slowly went to the award, which has got some cash value to that also.
Shall we go for audience questions? Unless, yes.
Well, I would like to really appreciate the efforts and initiatives of three of you. My question is, has any names have been enlisted from Tamil Nadu, the recent past? That's the first thing. And do you give only for original texts or for translation also?
So far as TFA is concerned, it's only original text. We haven't got into the translation area either. You?
Yeah, only English. We haven't touched translation yet. And Tamil Nadu, Ranjani Murali was from Tamil Nadu. I think 2015 or around that time. Yeah.
Yeah, for us also it's original text, but there is no language barrier. It could be from any language. And in fact, we have been discussing that from next year perhaps we will be introducing a translation award also. But then, it's very difficult to cover all the languages in translation. So if we have to introduce it, it will be basically either from any language to Bengali or from Bengali to English. Because we can't judge all the languages translation, that's not possible. So that's the limitations.
I had one question. All three of you spoke about awards, and which are very important, especially when the poets are young and the writers are young. But I was just wondering, because you've been doing it for so long, what could some of the other facilitative, initiatives be that you perhaps hope to see, if not you, but others do, other foundations, trusts, or people, which could create a more enduring environment for poets and poetry in your spaces, your cities? What could some of, other than awards? Awards certainly helps, but are there other things that you feel could encourage poetry? Thank you.
For as far as TFA is concerned, yes. I mean, workshops are something that we have been trying to do. And the point is, all of these people have been believing in this whole mission, right? So you have an Arundhati coming down and doing a workshop, right? And she's a big name. But then when it comes to TFA, she comes and does this whole thing for a limited number of people. And then they say, well, can we have part 2 of the workshop? Sampurna Chatterjee comes, she's a novelist and a poet. She comes and does a workshop, right? Jerry has come and done fiction, but then right now we're talking of poetry, yes. So workshops are something that, will definitely help, especially if you're specifically looking at the younger lot.
Even the festivals, if they get invitation to the festivals along with the senior authors or the poets, they get an exposure and they get an opportunity to interact, and the audience also get to know them. So this is also something apart from award. This is exposure that they get also. Exposure, and not only that, an invitation to a festival is also a recognition to some extent.
Yeah, that's why we've been collaborating with the Hyderabad Literary Festival, just so that, there is that atmosphere, the audience, the intermingling, the recognition. So that's one of the things. And, I think there is already nothing to do with our trust, but the poetry circle in Hyderabad is a very old one. So they meet almost on a weekly basis. And sometimes they say, if any of your poets are remaining in Hyderabad for some time, we want to invite them to our society, So there are these offshoots that often happen as well. Yeah, there's somebody on the right.
Yeah, I'll just come up with this question. So, when you talk about awards, so it's in the larger perspective of promoting poetry, right? And poetry does have a huge impact on the way people's opinion are shaped also, and bringing out the various things which are happening in our lives and to the forefront. So definitely also means that there are a lot of people who like to express themselves. And the bigger the movement is, the more impactful it will definitely become, right? So in festivals like this, for example, or even in literature festivals, isn't there a need to bring in larger participation of the unnamed, practicing, interested poets, people who just write? They want their voices to be heard. They want a platform to participate, to tell their stories, and for people to listen to them. So if I'm carrying, let's say, 5 poems on my mobile phone, I would like to be out there and share it with people. Who knows, how that can really make it a bigger and better and broader movement, and encourage a lot of people actually.
Yeah, that's an observation. But you see, every festival, the organizers who are doing it, they have something in their frame of mind, and everyone or everything cannot be accommodated in a festival. So this is an observation which could be noted. But we all, I also organize a festival in Calcutta. So we all, whenever we do that, we have something in the frame of mind, at the back of mind, and based on that we design the festival. And we all work under some limitations, so everything cannot be accommodated. I think you agree with that.
Yes, I agree. So you are talking of something like an open mic thing, right? Where you have a particular space where anybody can come and recite or whatever, right? I mean, that is the kind of, that's the only other option,
there
right?
could be themes also.
Yeah, what's that?
There could be themes also.
Themes, yes.
Like
yes.
social impact, or
Right,
right.
right.
Whether it's environment or
Right.
Working for the downtrodden, whatever.
Sure.
Genres. Thanks.
I think any more questions or? Okay, thanks to the organizers for giving us an opportunity to talk about whatever, the little efforts we do to recognize the talents, young talents and the talents. Thanks to everyone.
Yeah, I also would like to thank the Bengaluru Literary Poetry Festival for inviting me and for giving me this opportunity. I think the hosts have been absolutely wonderful, and I would like to place my appreciation on record. Thank you. Thank you all.
Last word, don't forget to apply to Toto Arts. Okay, it's on.